Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we're going to be talking about research and development in this series that we're going to be doing today, talking about deck building. So last week, guys, we talked about how I like to do deck building. How do I like to approach my deck building and things of that nature? And I've decided, instead of making just this one long, mundane video and just going over each of the steps, why not, for the nearest foreseeable future, we do weekly installments talking about all the different steps on how I like to approach deck building. And we go in depth as possible in each one of those videos. So, like I said, if you want to understand an overview what this video is going to entail, because thanks to all you guys' support, that video almost got 100 likes. I was kind of blown away that you guys enjoyed that video so much. So, of course we're going to do this, man. But pretty much what we're going to be talking about today, like I said, is research and development. Next week we'll probably be talking about deck construction and things of that nature, maybe a little bit of play testing. But right now we're going to be talking about researching decks. How do I like to research a deck, and what mindset do I go in with when I'm building a deck, when I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to approach this? And the first thing I like to do is I like to take the time to think about, why am I building this deck? People a lot of times just go in and say, I'm building this deck, I'm going to look it up online. It's simple as that. Cut and cheesy, lemon squeezy. You probably have never heard that terminology before, but beside the point. What I mean is, what is this deck being built for? Is it A, being built for competitive play, C, as a casual fun deck, or C, as a super casual fun deck? So, meta, tier 2, fun, just for the memes, number 3. What are you building it for? What are those 3 reasons? Which type of deck are you approaching? For example, let's talk about the super fun, lemon squeezy, cheesy meme deck over here, right? Number 3, right? With that type of deck, you can go back, there's multiple different ways you can research that fun deck, right? Usually you can go on YouTube, which is a great platform. There are other ways which we'll talk about for looking up meta decks, but for pretty much all purposes, YouTube is a great resource. But I'm going to say this. The Egyptian gods did not create every deck builder evenly. Right? There are some people that are great duelists, and there are some people that are great deck builders. And there are some people who are blessed by the Egyptian gods upon high to be good at both things. So says the Millennium Items. I mean that's such a religious connotation. But yes, you get what I'm trying to say. Not everybody that does deck videos on YouTube does the research. This guy sometimes has a hard time. He may misspeak when he's doing a deck profile. I will admit it. I will admit it freely. I'll be honest. I'm not even perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's people on there that would just put decks together, test it a couple times on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, and do a deck profile, a real-life in-deck profile. There'll be a couple people that don't know what they're doing, and they'll just try to get through the deck profile. And then there'll be sometimes when I've seen the most awful video quality, and they have a great deck profile. So it doesn't, like I said, not all deck builds are created evenly. So don't just look at one deck profile. Look at multiple. Doesn't matter who it is. Look at multiple to see and hear their thoughts, because it's better to hear from different people who have had different experiences and decide, hey, this is the ratio I like to run of this. This is where I like running this. This works good with this. Because that way you get a sense of it. And this goes for all deck profiles. So this is just the 2 generic stuff I wanted to cover, where you can look it up and what you should be doing to do it productively. Don't just watch the top-rated video on YouTube of said deck, and that's all you watch. Watch 4 to 5 videos. I'm not joking. Do it. Because you'll get different ideas and topics, and maybe you'll get your creative juices going. I'm not joking. It happens. So for fun decks, usually there's a time that, like with deck profiles, just with food, let's say, there is an expiration date. It may be a year, it may be 2 years, but for, canned food, but you get my point here, right? What I'm trying to say is, if it's a fun casual deck, the expiration date can be a little bit longer. So usually, I will say for a fun deck, be it a tier 2 fun deck, or be it a meme deck, quote unquote, usually 10 months is usually a good average, to look at. Maybe 10 months to a year. A year is like maximum. Why do I say that? Because there are core sets that come out and things of this nature. Because when you're looking at this deck and when you're researching this fun deck, there could have been indirect support that came out. But if you don't know of any indirect support, I'd say 10 months to a year is okay to watch a video. I usually say 10 to 8 months, but a year sometimes. I've done a year, up to a year plus sometimes, for decks that just have nothing out there. But usually for a good rule of thumb, in this case, I'd say for fun, casual decks, 10 months to 8 months is good. If you're pushing it, a year is okay too, but don't go over a year. Because you'll start to get into like different older formats that maybe something hadn't come off the ban list. Maybe said card had not been hit yet. Maybe new support came out. There's a multitude of factors. If you know new support has came out, don't watch a video of a deck prior to that new support coming out. Watch from when that support came out to currently now. For example, say back in January, a new support came out for a deck, right? I don't know, name a deck out there, right? Okay, am I going to look at a deck profile prior to January 2020 for a said deck profile? Maybe a dual pro online, but am I going to go back like 8 months prior to that, back before that new support was even known to come out? No! Why would I do that? That's not optimal, right? Like, for example, here's a good example, and this may be a little like hitting you right in the pants, but you get my understanding. For example, if I wanted to build in May 2020 a Sky Striker or Thunder Dragon deck, right? Am I going to go back to October 2019 to look up a Thunder Dragon deck and a Sky Striker deck? No, I wouldn't. Why? Because Thunder Dragon Colossus was at 3 still, and Sky Striker Engage was at 3 still. You get what I'm trying to say. I know that's kind of that's what I'm trying to explain here to you guys. In addition to, sorry for rubbing my nose. I got an itch right here on my nose, and it's annoying me. So researching, time-wise, is important for fun decks and competitive decks. If it's an older deck, a funner deck, a meme deck, which are one of those 3 categories. Remember again, competitive, meta, semi-competitive, tier 2, casual fun, meme status, number 3. If it's meme tier 2 or below, you usually can go back a little bit further. If it's meta, you'll want to look at the current events, and you want to look at current events from the current format, or in between core sets being released. Sometimes there's 2 core sets released in a format. Sometimes it's just 1. So you want to look in between when that initial core set was released, or any indirect support in a side set perhaps. And you want to look at that and see what's been doing good at the top tables. Within maybe the last month, maximum the last month, because the meta evolves a lot quicker nowadays. And the reason I say that is month to month, week to week, the meta changes. It even gets to the point sometimes where event to event, the event changes. An event on this side of the world could be affected by an event in Europe. So an event in the US could affect Europe, and Europe can affect the US for a YCS. I'm not joking. It happens all the time now. It didn't used to be that way. Now it does happen because how accessible content is. So saying all that, make sure your meta decks are really up to date and you're doing your research. Also, don't just look at what topped. If that deck topped the event, right, at YCS, maybe you also want to look at that second place deck if it was a mirror match, the third, the fourth, maybe the top 16. Look at all those ones, right? The top 32. Look at all those top 32 decks and figure out, see what different options there are and decide for yourself, what's doing, what was good. Because I'm going to be honest with you. If you top 32 of YCS, your deck's good. If you were in a tournament of 1,000 and 32 people topped, you probably have a good deck that I want to hear a little bit about. I'm being honest here, guys. Because not just because if the person tops and that's what top, people always just run for that deck. They always just go, oh, this deck topped. It's the best version. Not always the case. This was such a sheep mentality, I'm going to be honest, because Patrick Hoban used to take advantage of this back in the day. My good old friend Patrick Hoban. Not a good friend, but I know of him. But, he actually used to say, hey, I'll top an event, I'll play such card, and then next event I'll put something in my deck to counter that, strategy that I just topped with. Because that's what people would do. They would just build his deck blindly. And he would counter it by countering his own previous deck build. That's what I'm saying. Don't always just go for the top deck. Look at the other decks. Look what they did. Maybe they have a counter strategy. Decide and use your own brain. That's important here. Now, like I said, for meta decks, there's not just YouTube out there. There's TCG Player has tournament reports. There's other tournament reports out that are done. So there's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh teams nowadays, so sometimes the teams would just post their own deck profiles and thoughts on the deck. There's a lot of other ways to look up a deck profile. I always say look at a deck list, and if you have the chance, look at a video. But when you're listening to the video, listen to what he says about why he ran such choices. I do not like players that just go, I play 3 of this, 3 of that, 2 of that. I'm like, I could have just looked at a deck list. Like, tell me a little bit about your thought process. Tell me why you think this is good. I get it. Basic. Staple this. Tell me why you ran this tech option. What was your thought process behind it? I want to know that. You can't take that away from reading a paper. But believe me, a lot of people do deck profiles like that. Not discounting them at all. I'm being honest. I'm just saying, when you're listening to videos, keep an eye out for those things that they do say. So hopefully, this video was helpful on research, on how to properly research decks. Be it, what were the 3 type of decks again? Meta, Tier 2 and Fun, Meme Status. Meme Status are decks that just don't have an archetype whatsoever around them. So, hope this video was helpful. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up so I can continue this series, and I'll see you guys next time. Good luck dueling to all of you guys. Take care, everybody.